legs, and he's more closely related to them. But you could get away with describing him as a Bateleur eagle. But he's not a true eagle, no. There we are. Very nice. It's turning now into a gorgeous afternoon. This is when the light starts to soften and things start to get really pretty out here. I don't think there's going to be any rain. That cloud seems to be sort of dissipating high above us. There's a little bit more fairly heavy grey stuff to this deep south, but I don't think that we're going to get any rain today. Now, his mum and dad were around here a little bit earlier on. We might be lucky enough to see them. Or some kind of large animal. So it's been very short on tracks. Ooh. And slowly, oh, you didn't, yes you did. A little bit close, further forward. There's a fork-tailed drongo, everybody. He's right next to the car. He was right next to the car. He's not right next to the car anymore. Well, there he is. You can see all of the birds doing the same thing, and I'm sure Byron probably explained this to you. That is the gular flutter. The beak open, and there's a flap in the throat called the gular flap. And it's flapping up and down in the same way that a dog's tongue flaps in and out when he's panting. It is quite hot today. Okay, let's carry on. Hello, Ivy. Now, just to give you a little bit of background, everybody, last year, Scott, who was one of the presenters, created a birdhouse. He found a log and he dug it out, he hollowed it out, and he made a sort of a cavity. Like, it looked like a very natural cavity, and he was rather hoping a woodland kingfisher would come and live in it. Anyway, he put it up on a tree, and Ivy, I'm afraid nothing did come to live in it. So, no, nothing came to live in Scott's birdhouse, and it was removed, I think, by an elephant, actually knocked off the tree, and it's gone now. So I'm afraid nothing moved into Scott's birdhouse. Well, the light is really turning very pretty indeed now. So we're going to head back towards the west, down towards the drainage again, and then we'll probably head back to the lions and see if they've managed to move more than the odd mussel. I seriously doubt it. Hold on, it's a little bumpy through here. Now, Louisa, while we drive down here, you've asked a very interesting question about invasive species and whether we get any here in the Kruger. There are one or two plant species that are certainly exotic. Would I describe them as invasive? Invasive kind of means that they've come into the area and they're growing uncontrollably. And the answer is no, we don't really have any of those. Do we have exotics? Yes, we do. We have things like lantana, which is a sort of a very attractive pink and orange and yellow flowered plant, aromatic, grows around here. Then in the rivers, because the rivers come from outside the reserve and people grow bits and pieces on the sides of the rivers, we get things like a wild tobacco, which is not indigenous. We get Mexican poppy, which is not indigenous. What have you seen, Gyumpi? They're gone. There were some dragonflies, everybody. There's also a Nyala bull just to the right-hand side. 2 Nyala bulls. They look like Byron and I. Except they're not big, mature bulls like Byron and I, are they? Yes, that's me with the longer horns. And Byron is the one behaving in a subordinate manner to the right-hand side. Here we go. Correct. Good. Anyway, so those are the kind of invasive species. We don't get invasive mammals at all. Some people will tell you that Nyala never occurred in this area naturally. I think that that's absolute cods. I'm very sure that they did. And some people also will tell you that, of course, the human being never occurred here naturally, so I suppose we might be considered invasive. That also is absolute cods. There have been people in this area for thousands and thousands of years. Nice question. That is a really good discussion point. Now, we're going to drive into the sun, so it's going to be a little bit bright, as you can see. The sun is very bright today. And we'll keep looking for signs of the Great Queen, but I believe that she is still on Little Gowrie, which is to the south of us. And for those of you who are perhaps new to the safari game out here, we can't just drive absolutely anywhere we like. We've got a good sized traversing area, but we are unbounded by fences, and we cannot go onto all the other properties around us. But the animals can come and go as they please. So Karula, one of our favorite female leopards, she's just to the south of our boundary at the moment with her 2 babies, and so unfortunately it's unlikely that we'll see her today. Oh, Rob. Now you've asked a question that could unlock a can of worms, the likes of which you've never imagined. You say, how do we choose the names for the animals? Rob, it's a complicated process, a process that goes through more political wrangling, more discussions, more meetings, more toing and froing than your average sort of, I guess, presidential race might in the United States. That's a kind of topical way to describe it. But basically, the rule is that whoever finds the leopard when they're little gets the honor of naming it. Now, in the case of Karula's 2 youngsters, Shongile and Hosana, that honor went to the senior ranger of Djuma, because they were found on Djuma by Brent Leo Smith. And so Taxon and Aubrey chose the names Shongile and Hosana, which mean beautiful and little chief. And that's how they got their names, and that's basically how it's supposed to happen. But there's always a huge amount of argument about what should be the real name, and I know some people don't agree, and then some people don't agree with the manner in which it's done, and then, but how can you name it that when it means this, and how can you know, it's very complicated. The bottom line, of course, is that the leopards couldn't give a flying continental what you call them. But the naming, we have come, I mean, I certainly came from a school of thought, Rob, that believed we shouldn't ever name animals, we shouldn't describe human emotions to them, we should just observe from a sort of scientific standpoint. I've mercifully freed myself of that belief, and certainly Cecil the lion was the clincher for me. Cecil the lion, as you would definitely have heard of course, was a big male lion who was shot by a hunter, a dentist from somewhere in the United States, and he, because he had a name, became so famous. If he'd been known as male 3 of the Hwange Pride 1, so M3HP2, no one would ever have heard of him. But because he was Cecil, he became instantly a world celebrity, as we look at that crested barbet over there. And because he became a world celebrity, suddenly people became aware of the plight of lions. And so in his death, Cecil the lion, and through his name, he has done a massive amount for lion conservation. Now, in the same way, I have been completely convinced that our naming of the animals out here is an entirely positive thing. Yes, it might give some people the impression that the animals here aren't wild. That, of course, is completely untrue, but it does give them the characteristics, and it also allows us to free ourselves from this kind of I think very almost puritanical and very backward thought that animals don't have emotions, when more and more scientific research shows that they do. And so to ascribe human emotions to them, because how else must we ascribe emotions to them? We do not understand leopard emotions, but through trying to impress our own emotions on them. And through doing that, we create these characters, and we learn the different personalities of them, and whether we're right or wrong, and I think probably 90% of the time we're completely wrong about what they think and what they feel, it's still A, great fun, and B, tells the story of the animals, and that in turn provides for their conservation, which is fantastic. So that in a very long and roundabout way goes about the naming of the animals. Now we're going past another bit of standing water here called Chelapan. Hang on a second, something's fallen. That sounded horribly like my lens cap. Where did it go, Vim? Vim doesn't know where it went. This is deeply distressing, everybody. Hold on. Ah, there it is. It's okay. We're alright. Whew. Now, we're going to go towards the lions after we've gone to Chelapan. I think Byron is ready to tell us what's going on in his life right now, so let's head across to him and find out.
All got to see them, and we're just in search of anything this afternoon, really. Anything that pops out. We'd like to do some birding, maybe if we do see something interesting. There's another elephant just off to the right, a young one. I think this is quite a big herd that's moved through here. Have a look. We've been fortunate with all the elephant. Let's just carry on going. We've had a great afternoon of elephant. If you think of those ones mud bathing earlier. So that's a young one. But definitely part of the herd that we saw earlier, just behind us. No, not too far, probably 100 meters behind us. So very, very close by. So Adrienne wants to know, when do these elephants develop their tusks? Adrienne, from a young age already, you can start seeing tusks, little teeth coming through, or the tusks coming through. I'm trying to think now. I think as young as 3 or 4, I think I've seen little tusks sticking through. Oh, look, everybody, there's some water ahead. They're drinking. Hold on. They were drinking. There was one drinking. Let's see, maybe it comes back. Just going to position a little bit away. Maybe just hear a helicopter flying over us, and that is the Kruger National Park helicopter. I just had a look at it. It was a Kruger National Park helicopter. Occasionally these helicopters do anti-poaching in the areas. They just patrol and make sure that there's no trouble being caused in the game reserves. So they do patrol and fly over occasionally. Look at that. So nice to watch them drinking. Hang on a second, I'd just like to move to get this aerial out the way for you. How's that, Dave? A bit better? There we go. There we go. Sorry, I just saw that in the picture now. See, also picking up mud and splashing itself, trying to cool down, get rid of some of the flies and that probably around that elephant. Oh, it's amazing. Isn't that wonderful? I said a bit earlier, I'm a bit jealous because it's so hot. I wouldn't mind jumping in that mud wallow and just laying there for a bit. It's probably not very clean though. I think they must have had buffalo, elephant, probably rhino too, all coming through and wallowing, and so there's it's probably not very clean. They just about soak themselves. So Adrian, just again with your question, I think about 3 to 4 years old you might start seeing little signs of tusks coming through. But then a little bit older, 6, 7, you really do start seeing these little tusks just protruding out of the mouth. Look at the toes. You can see the toes of the elephant, the nails. So the toenails on the feet. Even though it doesn't look like they have got toes, but they do indeed. So Gail in Florida would like to know how long do the young elephant calves nurse and stay with their mothers. So Gail, I've seen young elephant between the ages of 5 and 7, even up to 7 or 8, still try and nurse from the females. But generally from about 3 or 4 years old they do stop. So it all depends, but I have seen youngsters still try their luck and still try to get milk from the females when they're a little bit older. And then those calves will just stay within the herd. They'll grow up and stay within the herd unless they are young males. Then when they get a bit older, they'll probably move out, perhaps find a big dominant bull, and they'll often shadow them. And what happens is these big dominant males teach these young bulls how to be successful, how to find females and what to do when they find the females. So often you'll get big old bulls with 1 or 2 what we call askaris, and those askaris it was actually, I think it's an East African term for Maasai warriors, if I'm not mistaken, that would protect the chief. And I think the name was given to the elephant too, these young bulls that would walk around with the old dominant bull, the wise bull, and they basically protect him in a sense. Listen, did you hear that, everybody? There was just a low frequency vocalization from these elephant. That's how they communicate. It sounds like a stomach rumble, but it's not. It is a vocalization. That's wonderful. So as I was saying, these younger bulls stick with the big old bulls, and they become these. Oh, listen to that. That was incredible. Do you hear that? And that was the younger one off to the right here behind the bush. And I think all that it did there is trying to find out where the rest of the herd is. Just turn around, because the rest of the herd is still behind us. I'm just going to keep quiet a little bit because it seems to be calling regularly. Let's listen. Did you hear that? Again, another call. Here's another one. Come say hello. Hear that? Isn't that wonderful, everyone? That is so fantastic. They really are calling beautifully for us at the moment. That is great. As I said, I'm not going to speak too much because this is so wonderful to hear, especially for them to call regularly like this. And I do think this elephant is just trying to find out where the rest of the herd is and why they're taking so long. Isn't that amazing? That was a nice loud one again. Oh, I think they're done now. That one's just stopped to urinate. I'm just looking around, and at the moment the rain seems to be staying away from us. Another call, wow. There are some clouds in the sky, but they don't look like it's going to rain anytime soon. This young female is very vocal at the moment. It's wonderful. Wasn't that great? That really is lovely. Probably going to move on, and we'll leave these elephants. They've put on a wonderful show for us. So nice to hear that sound. Really is incredible. James has got something very tall that he would like to show you.
That ain't tall, everybody. That's a slender mongoose that VM told me we would get. I said, don't be ridiculous. We'll never get this thing. It's much too small. And there it is. Look at it. It's completely relaxed now. Go ahead, F. I'm just talking to Ephraim quickly in the game, right? He's giving us a space at the lions. Go ahead. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that cool, everybody? That's the slender mongoose. And we very, very seldom see like that. It's the second one that that Via has seen today. And just like your dog or your cat lies on the cool sand on a hot day, that's exactly what that mongoose is doing. Liam, you must be so pleased with yourself at this stage. I said to him, you'll never be able to see that thing again. It's going to run away. Don't worry about it. Let's do the giraffe. He said, I don't like giraffe. Let's do this one. So we did the slender mongoose, and he has been vindicated completely. How cool is that? We never, ever see slender mongoose like this. Now, there's another vehicle coming, so I think it's probably going to run away. They live in pairs or singly on their own like this. You can see another vehicle coming behind. He's not sure if it's seen him yet. And that long tail, we think, is some kind of a predator sort of aversion tactic. Because what happens is when the mongoose runs, it sticks its tail over the top of its back, and if a predatory bird comes flying over to try and grab it, it'll just flick the tail back, which of course is much quicker than trying to sort of dive under a bush or dive to the ground. You can't really see another reason to have such a long tail. That is so cool. Viam, well done. You get 155 points for this. Hello, Kim. Kim, you ask the question, can slender mongoose get fat? Now, I think that you were probably being rather amusing. That's Tim, not Kim. Tim, the answer is no, they can't. Quite seriously, and they can't because they are banters, basically. They eat a banting diet or a paleo diet. They eat no sugar or carbohydrates. It's all sort of fatty insects, the odd snake and lizard and that sort of thing. It is not possible for their bodies to create fat out of their diets, or it's very difficult. And so, no, they cannot be fat, but that goes for all the mongoose, not just the slender ones. Right. Oh dear, that doesn't sound good at all. Let's go back to the lions. They're just down here. Let's head down to the lions. They are not far from where we are right now. and then we will see if they manage to get up and do something in the next 45 minutes or so. I think that's about the length of time we have left. Yeah, just a bit longer than that. Hello, lovely question from someone called Kiwawa. I will answer your question shortly, Kiwawa. I just want to say hello to Ephraim. Minjan Bob. Guys on Gopu. That's just Ephraim saying it's hot. And I said yes, it's very hot. Kiwawa, are we ever afraid of breaking down in the bush? Yes, we are. Do we ever do it? Yes, regularly. Are we nervous when it happens? No, not really. We're not very far from home ever. People can come and help us. We've got radios to tell people where we are. In the middle of the day, if it gets desperate enough, you can just walk home. Obviously, if you're careful and you're trained well enough, but we have quite a lot of experience out here, and so we'd normally be completely okay. Were we to sort of have to walk home during the night, it'd be a bit different. You'd spend the night in the car if you couldn't get help, but you'd be probably okay in the car. Right, the lions have come out slightly from their hiding place. One or two cubs are up. Sorry about that, everybody. That was me knocking the aerial over. Right, we're going to stop here. Alright, there we go. That little lion, a bit of a fright, but not a dreadful fright, just a little one. Sweet little lion. Now, for those of you who are perhaps a little bit confused about this mange story, let me tell you a bit about it. There are two main prides in our traversing area. The Nkuhuma pride, which is this pride, consisting of 5 lionesses and 8 little cubs. And then in the south, towards Cheetah Plains, we see the Styx pride sometimes, 3 lionesses. They too had 8 little cubs. All 8 of their cubs are now, unfortunately, passed on. They are no longer with us, and that is because of mange. Now, mange is a disease caused by a mite. Well, it's the same thing that humans call scabies. So it's a skin disease caused by a mite. And all of them we think they caught it from one of the females. She, in turn, we think caught it from one of the Birmingham boys who are the dominant male lions of this area. Now, there's a huge amount of worry that these lions might suffer the same fate. So far, only one of them has it. And it's on his ears. And it doesn't seem to be spreading. It might spread a bit, but I think what you're going to find is that the Nkuhuma pride, there are a whole lot of... Diedrich's cuckoos just flew over the top of us. I think what you're going to find is that these lions are fine, and the reason for that is that they're eating well, and they are not compromised. They're not under stress. They've eaten huge amounts during the drought, and certainly the youngsters seem to drink a huge amount of milk. And so I think you're going to find that these chaps are absolutely fine. And I think it's a little bit like any other disease. If you are hungry and not well nourished, then a disease will take hold in your body. But if you are well nourished, normally it's absolutely fine. You hear the crickets starting to go now. Hello, Daniel. A very valid question as we look at this little lion. You say, when do lions start growing manes? Daniel, they'll start to grow manes normally at about a year old. You can tell whether a male or female is a male or female just by looking at its eyes. Not as its eyes, at its face. You can see then that the mane starts to form, if you like. Oh, it's just such a lovely sound. You can hear the sound of the oxpeckers going is some kind of species of cricket, and probably also actually a species of probably a species of cicada actually. There we go, a little bit of movement now. Right, let's move a little bit forward now that that one's gone behind there. We can move slightly forward. There we go. There was a male in here as well, I think, this morning. Oh, there he is. He's right there, actually. Oh, and it is our friend Nkuhuma, the authority. We know that, of course, because he has a giant hole in his face. Yeah, that's not ideal, is it? You may have noticed, of course, that the light has dropped, and that is because this cloud is coming in from the south, so maybe we'll get a bit of rain. Now, we have talked a little bit about the fact that the lionesses are running out of milk. I don't think it's going to happen. Well, I mean, it is certainly happening for some of the older ones, which must be now... How old are the oldest ones? Well, they can't be much more than 5 months old by now, I think. So there should still be quite a lot of milk left in these lionesses, especially for the youngest ones, which are probably only 3 months old now. They're all eating meat at the moment, but they will all still be supplementing their diets with milk. They wean completely at about 6 months old. And I'm glad that you all seem to be thrilled to see these lions. I too am thrilled. I haven't seen them for some time. They're not in the easiest place, of course. We can't get a view of all of them. And that guy's nose doesn't seem to be healing with a great speed, does it, Liam?
It looks better.
You think it looks better? Okay, well, Liam says it looks better. That's good. And for those of you who are perhaps new to us, the names of our Birmingham boys are Tino, the one with the tooth. He's easy to see because his bottom lip has a scar, and so you can see his tooth. Nkuhuma, this one called the Authority. The other two are, can I remember the names of the other two? The one is Nsuku, who is Blondie. That means, well, he was called Blondie. That means yellow, I think. Does it mean yellow? My mind has gone completely addled in the heat of the summer's day. So Nkuhuma, Tino, Nsuku, and the warrior. And the warrior's name is... Wait, it'll come to me. Oh, Nana. That's it, right. Nana. Okay. So the warrior and Nsuku slightly harder to tell apart because they don't have such very obvious features as this. Now, we had a question about whether or not lions snore, and the answer is yes, they do snore. Absolutely. They don't always snore, but they can snore. So, Helen, your answer is yes, you don't want to be sleeping next door to a lion because A, it will probably try and eat you, and B, it will keep you awake with its snoring. These ones are not snoring all the time, though. The animal, interestingly, that snores the most out here is a rhino. Rhinos snore an enormous amount, and in fact, if you're tracking them on a hot day, it's one of the things you listen out for, because often they'll settle down and sleep either in the shade, or they'll go into a sort of a pan or some mud and water, and there they'll sleep and they'll snore away. These chaps are being very silent about their sleep, though. they are doing a lot of sleeping. Now this, of course, is one of the main reasons that we are changing times to the later summer times, which will be on the 1st of November. And that's just because it'll give us an extra half an hour for them to actually get up and do something. At the moment, as we go into the summer, it's so hot right now. And we've only got 40 minutes left of drive or so. And because of that, I mean, it's unlikely that these lions are going to do too much before 7 o'clock this evening, actually. Oh, there we go. We've got a bit of a look there from the male. High action here. Hello, Elizabeth. I suppose this is something we don't really discuss a huge amount. How large is a lion's territory? Well, Elizabeth, it very much depends on the area you're in. In this particular area, the lionesses have a pride. Oh, here comes a lioness. There's high action here, VM. My goodness. I don't know where to look. She's going to lie down again and sleep. She's just going to go and reaffirm her bonds with the male. Oh, that's quite sweet, isn't it? Lions are very affectionate with each other if they're not feeding. And if they're feeding, they really don't like each other very much at all. Okay, the action has died down. Now, the lion territory, these lions, the Nkuhuma pride, has a territory of roughly 10,000 acres. So that in hectares is about 2.5. I used to be able to do this entirely by memory. It's about 4,000 hectares or so. Yeah, that's right. 4,000 hectares, 10,000 acres, roughly the size of the Nkuhuma pride territory. The male's territory, the Birmingham boys' territory, 2.5 to 3 times that size. They definitely cover about 3 pride territories, but spend most of their time with this pride and with the sticks. And so their pride, their territory, remember they're not part of the pride, they're part of a coalition which dominates a number of prides, and their territory is probably about 30,000 acres in extent. She's just giving herself a clean, like all cats must, of course. Oh, you can just hear all of the insects now calling. I wonder if it's not going to rain. Hello, Girl of Fire. Now, of course, we've given all the Birmingham boys names, and you want to know why on earth we don't give the females names. Well, that's a really nice shot of the claws, if they come sticking out. There are a few reasons. The first is that the whole pride normally gets a name, so we don't normally name the individuals in a pride, often because they're actually quite difficult to tell apart. These ones, if you look at them for long enough, you can actually tell them apart. One of them's got amber eyes. One of them is noticeably younger than the others. The other 3 you could probably tell apart, one by the length of its face, one by the fact that it's noticeably older than the others, and so you could probably give them names. The convention generally, though, is that we give the pride a name, and then if there's anything obviously distinctive about one of the pride members, like Amber Eyes, for example, we call her by name, then we'll call them by that name. Which, interestingly, there's no real reason why we shouldn't give them names, other than the fact that they're not that easy to identify. Anybody who's ever owned a house cat cannot but fail to notice, of course, that this is the same kind of animal entirely. Natalie, I must agree with you. I think your postulation all the way from California is a good one. You say, will the older cubs nurse for longer, given that there are younger cubs and therefore that there will be a lactating female, for longer than past their 6-month birthday. Can you have a 6-month birthday? I don't think you can, but you know what I mean. Natalie, I think they will probably do a little bit more suckling, because of course they do cross-suckle, so they don't always suckle from their own mothers. Now that's the youngest lioness there. We know that from her very pink nose and the fact that she doesn't have babies. Well, she's not actually substantially younger than the one who we were looking at earlier. And so, yeah, I mean, that's one of the major reasons we don't give these cats names. But that's not to say you can't give them names if you'd like to. Beautiful. They're all peacefully asleep again. I think we'll sit here for another 5 or 10 minutes, and if they do not wake up and do something useful by then, we'll probably head off and see what we can see. In the meantime, Byron has found a primate other than himself. Let's go and, well, I'm not sure he qualifies as a primate actually. Let's go and have a look.
Where is he gone? A few of them, but they've disappeared. No, wait, he's still there. You might get him. Those lower branches there, he's jumping up. David, can you see him? There, you got him. There we go. And that is a male. It looks like he is in the prime of mating time for the monkeys. He's got very bright blue genitalia, and that's to attract a female. He's just hiding from us there at the moment. And this is the Vervet monkey, V-E-R-V-E-T, Vervet, or Vervet, Vervet monkey, the Vervet monkeys. And there were at least 2 or 3 others that ran in there, but as you can see, it's very thick. You can hardly make out where that monkey's sitting. Isn't that amazing? Just hiding in the tree. Dave just thought he saw something there. I think there's a bit of a breeze, so some of these branches, David, it looked like you moved higher up now. Hang on, let me just move back for you quickly. Let's see. I know a lot of our viewers really enjoy seeing the monkeys, especially these cheeky little Vervet monkeys. And I know from working in the lodges, and why I say they're cheeky is because a number of breakfast tables have been raided by the Vervet monkeys. They are so clever, it's incredible. You look away for a split second and they'll jump up onto the deck and come and grab a croissant or a muffin or the sugar pot, anything like that, and off they go. Or a piece of fruit. They're amazing, amazing animals. Very, very intelligent, very intelligent. So, but they are very naughty and mischievous. Obviously not like me at all. Let's see, there's some quite a bit of cloud cover that started to form to our right. You might have a look at it, just see how dark those clouds are, and they've been forming all afternoon, but it doesn't look like it's going to rain. I was speaking about it earlier, that it threatens regularly in the afternoons because of these hot days. Get this cloud cover forming, and then all of a sudden it just disappears and misses us completely. No rain, and the next day the same happens, and then eventually if we're lucky, it starts to raining and we get a lovely big storm. Kathy would like to know, what do the Vervet monkeys eat? So Kathy, they'll feed on a number of things, from maybe even little insects to predominantly fruit and seeds that they'll find. That's generally what the Vervet monkeys feed on. Little bulbs perhaps that they can dig up, little insects, and a lot of fruit that they find, and berries and that type of stuff. That's what the Vervet monkeys will eat. Baboons, which are the other primates we get around here, They'll feed on just about anything, from insects all the way to young impala lambs. I've seen baboons catch impala lambs where they eat the meat, 100% omnivorous. They'll eat just about anything. They'll also feed on leaves of trees and different vegetation and shoots and grass roots that they're able to find. Anything that's got a bit of flavor and nutrition they'll eat. So they do eat just about anything. And interestingly enough, that if you're ever stuck out in the bush and you're looking for food, if you find a troop of vervet monkeys and they're feeding on berries off of a bush, you can go and eat those berries. But if you find the baboons and they're eating off berries from a tree or a bush, it's not necessarily safe to go and eat them, because baboons will feed on just about anything, but vervet monkeys will only feed on berries that are not poisonous. So if you do find yourself hiding in the bush, if you find yourself stuck in the bush and you're looking for something to eat, you can eat what the vervet monkeys eat, but not everything the baboons eat. So that is very interesting. Our beard would like to know if we can get monkey insurance. I don't think so. I think the insurance companies would laugh at you. It's still very, very hot, everybody. Very warm, very muggy. And the air is thick while we're driving around. We do need some more rain. Some rain would really cool things down. It would be wonderful. Driving around now, still just scanning for any animal activity. You never know what could pop out in front of us. I'm still in search of finding a leopard. I've had no luck over the last week. I've only seen one leopard since I got back here. But the other presenters seem to have had all the luck with leopards. But we've had a lot of luck with, or I've had a lot of luck with the lions. And speaking of lions, James is sitting with them at the moment.
Well, we have a little bit of action here, everybody. There seems to be some kind of, action. The male has got up. He's been testing whether that young lioness wishes to mate with him by smelling. Now, she's been doing that for some time, actually. It's not the first time. And I don't know if you can also see how much darker it's got suddenly. This is not because the sun has disappeared. It's because of the cloud coming over. There's really quite nice yellow light formed over the place. Ooh, they've got quite an intimate little scene going on here. Not in the sort of most intimate way. Let me just move back a little bit. No, she's not interested in him at all. I'm going to move a little bit forward. She's not interested in the slightest. I suspect he's been doing that all day, moving up towards her, testing if she's ready to mate, lying down next to her as if to say, let's chat. And she says, to hell with that, gets up and walks away and goes to join her friends. It really is. I mean, we were talking a little bit earlier about the attaching emotions to animals and that sort of thing, and attaching sort of human qualities. You can see this happening in human society. You can see a sort of young man going up to a group of girls and sort of trying his luck with one of them, and her just sort of showing absolutely zero interest at all, even if she is vaguely interested, and then walking back to her mates. And I mean, I see that with these, you see that with elephants, you see it with baboons and monkeys, and to call that anthropomorphization, I suppose, is true, but gosh, I don't think we can be too far wrong with things like that. That little cub, completely blissful. The heat's gone. It's a nice cool breeze on my belly. Mum's nearby. I'm full of milk and good food. Life couldn't be better here in the Lowveld Kruger summer. And of course, as we've said many times, the predators have had a wonderful time in the drought. Mange go away if the lions stay healthy. Yes, absolutely, Debbie. And we know that because mange are a little bit like chicken pox, or measles or mumps or something like that. You cannot get twice. So they do develop an immunity to it, and it will go away. If they manage to recover from it once, they will get away from it, and it won't affect them again. But you can see it has not spread to any but one of the cubs, and it's possible that that cub just had a little bit less food. It's possible that it's genetically inferior. And one of the great, or not the great things, if you want to put a positive spin on what happened to the Styx cubs, you might say, well, that's natural selection at work. They didn't have the genetic ability to fight off the parasites, and maybe that's why they died, and maybe that's not necessarily a bad thing, because you don't want those genes passed on to another generation. And the opposite could be said perhaps for the Nkuhumas. Now that foot, everyone, is about the same as a sort of average-sized man's hand, which is about my size hand, I suppose, bar the last digits, at least the last joint on the digits. So the first two digits of the fingers, and that's how big that is. So that's a pretty big hand. And the male, you'd include the digits. As you can see, she's very satisfied here. I must confess the atmosphere right now is just electrically wonderful. Well, it's not electric, it's expectant. It doesn't feel sort of tense at all, but it does feel just gorgeous with the grey cloud coming in from the south, sun setting, the heat dissipating, a little breeze blowing through. I think the lions pick that up in the same way that we do. Anyway, the reason we stayed here, of course, was because there was that little bit of action. I think we'll do another sit for a little bit longer, and then we might move on. Hello, R. Beard. Do you want to know if you can inoculate against mange? No, I don't think you can. What you can do is you can treat it. I mean, you can bathe the animals and you can treat them. I think you treat it symptomatically pretty much. But it's very difficult, of course, in a wild lion population. And this is a wild lion, so we're not going to try and do it here. I think were the Southern African lion, if the Southern African lion was endangered, I think you'd find that then there might be an attempt to step in. But it isn't, and the Kruger Park has a very safe and stable lion population, and those cubs that have died will almost certainly be replaced. In fact, they have almost been replaced. One of the lionesses has given birth already. So I think you'll find that although it's delayed the growth of that pride by some time, it won't do it permanently. And so while we quite understand the very strong feelings that some people have towards trying to help animals, and it isn't, of course, a credit to people when they feel the suffering of animals themselves. I mean, it's a great credit to human beings that we do feel that, but sometimes it's just better to let nature take its course, and certainly my experience in the Kruger Park indicates that almost always when we get involved, Sindile being a noticeable exception, when we do get involved, then when we get involved, it normally ends in some kind of tragedy. Hang on a second, Alvian, but you're not going to be able to see this, but there's another lioness through the bushes there, and I suspect she's with all the other cubs. All I can see is many bundles of fur through the bushes. Can you see them there, Vim? There we go. No. They're sort of through there. Anyway, they're there, everybody. The rest of the pride is lurking in the bush where we can't get to them. Let's have one last look here, and then I think we're going to press on, see what else we can see for the last few minutes of the drive. Well, Mind Warp, you want to know what the odds are for another buffalo kill before the sunrise drive. Mind Warp, I'd say excellent, because, of course, these lions have knocked off something ridiculous like 30 buffalo in the last 40 days, plus minus. It's astounding. So they do look pretty hungry to me. You remember, it's kind of difficult to tell if a lion, or how hungry a lion is, because they get thin as soon as they've digested. And so although they're not full, I don't think they're feeling hungry, and that's evidenced by how few of the buffalo they've actually eaten to completion. So I think it's well possible that they could kill another buffalo. If one comes around here, they'll almost certainly nail it. And of course they've got more and more experience at killing buffalo. And so I think as the summer progresses and the buffalo gets stronger, they'll probably still keep to hunting buffalo with all these hungry mouths to feed. Alrighty, we're going to head out of here, everybody. These chaps ain't going to do nothing for the next little while. We'll go and see if we can't spot something else exciting before the end of the drive. While we do that, let's see if Byron, the primate, has managed to find a leopard.
James, if you call me a primate once more, we're going to have some serious problems. But I haven't found a leopard, but I have found a beautiful sky that I'd like to show you. Look at this, everybody. Look at that. Yeah, we can hear ground hornbills in the distance. Let's see if you can hear them. Very faint, but you might be able to hear them. Very soft. So some ground hornbills calling in the distance, but look at that beautiful sky. Isn't that incredible? It's wonderful when you've got some cloud cover with the sunset. And you really do get to appreciate these wonderful colors, all these colors, this pink, purple, yellow, blue, gray, just wonderful, wonderful colors in the sky. It really is beautiful. So let's see what we can find. We're also going to carry on driving around. It is still very, very hot, everybody, and I think that's probably going to affect a lot of the movement of animals. I know James left those lions because they were still resting. It's still very, very hot, and if I was the lion, I wouldn't be moving around either. Sorry everyone, just hang on a second. Let me just jump off here quickly, everyone. Sorry, I just saw something. Just want to pick it up. It looks like a piece of rubbish, possibly just flown off a vehicle. Yeah, it has indeed. We don't want litter around here, do we? I'll throw that away later. So Dana's asked if I can do a guinea fowl impression. Yeah, guinea fowl. Guinea fowl. How does a guinea fowl go again? It sounds like almost like a broken bicycle pump. Something like that, I think. That would be that would be my attempt at a Guinea Fowl call. Dana, thank you very much for that. So nice to have that request. Oh dear. Sure, let's maybe quickly have a look at Sydney's dam. We're not far from that. Kathy wants to know what words of wisdom would I give younger viewers who would like to be safari guides when they grow up. And I think Kathy, the best bit of advice I can give is enjoy what you do, and make an effort to learn as much as possible about nature. One thing though, and one thing you need to remember, is you are never going to know everything about nature. And nature changes constantly, and even though I've been guiding for many, many years, I definitely don't know everything, and I'm still constantly learning. Never have an ego about working in the bush, because I think nature will very quickly put that in check. So always be humble, always try and understand nature, be respectful of the animals. I do believe that's very, very important. And then try to learn as much as possible. And then when you are out, enjoy it. Enjoy every moment, even from the impala, which we see all the time. I just need to scan quickly and just want to see what we've got here. And we've got some buffalo at Sydney's dam, everyone. So Kathy, I think those would probably be my words of wisdom, or a bit of advice for younger viewers, and try and get out to Africa if you do want to become a guide one day or work in the bush. You obviously learn a lot more if you are here and you are seeing and hearing everything for yourself. These buffalo seem to be moving away from the waterhole. I think we're going to do the same. So let's head back to James and get another update from him.
There is Wim's very favourite animal in all the world. Giraffe, giraffe, giraffe. AKA the southern giraffe. And he is taking a very leisurely feed as the sun has set and a large cloud comes in from the south to promise moisture that it almost certainly won't deliver to us. Just look at the sky and how beautiful it is. Isn't that gorgeous? Oh. That's why it's really not such a trial coming back to work, everybody, when I have that to show you. And by that I mean it's not a trial at all coming back to work. Very, very peaceful indeed. Righty, for the last few minutes let's head up onto quarantine clearings, see what's happening up there as the darkness starts to fall. I haven't found hide nor hair of a leopard today, I'm afraid. Well, we did on Mala Mala. Not Mala Mala. We didn't drive there. On Cheetah Plains earlier today, but it went into Mala Mala, and we did not follow it, did we, Vim? No. So we'll just head up top here and see what's happening in the darkness. I suppose I might put on some lights. Hello, Cindy in Florida. It is, of course, coming up on the 31st 31st of October, which in the States is a huge event, Halloween. We don't really do much for Halloween in this part of the world. You want to know what I'm going to be? I think I'm probably going to be a safari guide on Halloween, but I might try and find something slightly more original, more ghoulish, more sort of macabre. Maybe I'll attach one of the skulls in the tent to my person. VM, I remember your costume from last year. Do you remember what you did?
Yeah.
What did you do, VM?
Marula man.
Yes, you did the Marula Man. Marula Man, everybody, was VM, and he gaffer taped a whole lot of twigs to his hands, and he'd put them in front of the lens every so often, and he looked he looked dreadful. He looked very scary indeed. It was like being the mixture of Struvel Peter, who was a children's book favourite, well, not much of a favourite, and Worsel Gummidge. He looked like a sort of terrifying scarecrow. Oh, that's right. I went as a guarri bush last year. Thank you very much for that. I gaffer taped a guarri bush to my person. That was my costume. I think I've been to every single party that I've had to dress up for. I've gone as a pirate. I find that the easiest, to make a sort of ridiculous looking bird, either out of some balls of paper, or to strap a chicken carcass to my shoulder, paint on a beard, and then you go and talk in a strange accent, and people realize immediately that you're supposed to be a pirate. I don't think I'm going to strap a chicken carcass to my shoulder for the drive, although, I mean, that might be quite amusing. Not much going on up here on quarantine clearings. I was rather hoping Tingana might step across the place and show himself to us while he hunts for some impala. But we were going to have to start bringing out the spotlight, of course, come the 1st of November, when the times change. Just to remind you again, times will change. Sunrise safari, 5 to 8 in the morning, Central African time. Sunset safari, we have got from 4 to 7 Central African time. And you can work out what time that is in your part of the world. Hello, Donovan. You are but 9 years old, and it's lovely to hear from you. You want to know if my sister enjoyed herself here for my birthday in the Sabi Sand. She didn't come to the Sabi Sand, I'm afraid, Donovan. She did visit us, though, down the Eastern Cape, which is where my parents live, and she loves coming out here because Africa is her home, and it's in her blood, like it's in my blood, and like it's in much of the blood that courses through the veins of our Safari Live viewers. So, Donovan, yes, she loved being out back in Africa, and I hope that you too will come out here one day. That's going to be it from Viam and I today. Thank you, Viam. Well done. You survived through the heat, and so did all of you, and thank you for talking to us through the course of the afternoon. I'll see you tomorrow at 05:30. I think I'll be with Taylor McCurdy then. Until then, stay safe and happy, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
It's so funny. I was going to say that when you asked James what he's going to be for Halloween, and he said a safari guide, I was going to say, well, he can go as himself because that's probably scary enough. I don't know what I would go as. James kind of took my idea of a pirate. I do like pirates. Otherwise, Rambo. I thought Rambo might be pretty cool. Dave, what do you think? Would you go as? Or a rabid hyena. Rabid hyena, there we go. That sounds like a great Halloween costume. Just trying to scan around and see what else we can find. I noticed some of the Twitter comments and that people are asking how long I'm still going to be around for and guiding here. So I'm still around for 10 days or so. So sorry everyone, you stuck with me for a little bit longer. So I think some were worried that they missed my last drive, but I am still around for quite some time, for another 10 days. Then I'm away for a week and then back again for another 2 weeks or so, just before the middle of December. So I'm looking forward to that again, but still quite a long stint ahead. So looking forward to finding you more animals and chatting to all of you. Oh, come on, I'm trying to find a chameleon, everyone. We've been wondering when we're going to see the first chameleon of the season, but no luck just yet. And it is still very, very warm, though. I do think we need a bit more rain for some of those other little reptiles to get active and come out. We need more insects. Oh, there's a little squirrel that just ran down. It's gone, unfortunately. It was sitting in the tree, probably sleeps in that tree, that dead tree, that dead knobthorn. Can't see, and I'm trying to also see if we can't find any owls, perhaps. I'd love to see a spotted eagle owl or a giant eagle owl out in the open in the evening. That would be really great. Anyway, it's almost time to end. Dave, thank you very much for joining us on camera, and thank you to Lou and Kirst in the FC and the voices in my head. It's lovely having their voices read us the questions. Thank you to all the viewers again for a wonderful afternoon, for all the comments, the questions. I really hope you've enjoyed it, and tomorrow morning James and Taylor will take you out on safari. I'm getting a morning rest. Have a wonderful evening or day wherever you are. Thank you, everybody. Good night and goodbye.